welcome back to my channel. So I have not forgotten about my channel. I actually recorded a video a few weeks ago and I didn't have enough storage on my phone, so I don't know, it just was gone. It was there, but it wasn't there. It was weird. So I hopefully have fixed the situation and I'll be posting more videos more often. That's actually a goal of mine for 2019. So yeah, as you can see, the title of this video is a diary series. So I am coming on here and just being open and transparent about getting over an ex and just some things that God has revealed to me about this situation, and I hope that it can help someone if they are going through something similar. So one thing that the Lord placed on my heart was that love awakened for the wrong person really can be a bondage. Reflecting back, I can see that I was constantly trying to figure out a way to, hang out with him, spend time with him, using my time throughout the day, texting him, and it really was consuming me, consuming my thoughts, consuming my time, and I really wasn't able to focus on what God has called me to do, figuring out what that is and how that looks like, and then also pouring into another young lady, not being intentional about finding someone who I really should be, in a sense, mentoring, guiding, doing life in community with. So also, I was just so hopeful about the relationship. Like, I would look at relationships who had broken up and then gotten back together, and I was like, that could be our story, that could be us, we can do that. Like, I know that he can change. And so even though we had broken up we weren't talking for about a year, when we did come back into contact, it was very easy for me to get back into those same emotions because I had never let them go. I was hoping so much in him and him changing versus putting my hope in God and letting him change my heart and get me prepared for what he has called me to do. So I was at church one service and we were worshiping, and the question came into my mind: are you walking around Egypt expecting freedom? And I just wrote it down, and I didn't really give it any further thought at that moment in time. But later on, as I was just letting the Lord as I was spending time just sitting before him, he just began to pour out some things. And so I just want to share some of those things that he shared with me. So I am going to be in the word today, and I will put the scriptures that I'm referencing down below. The first step to getting over an ex is to let go of the relationship. Let it go, not only physically but also mentally. As I mentioned earlier, I was very hopeful about my ex, and when I look back on my thoughts, it was just, I had not let the relationship go in my mind. I still expected him to come back after a period of time of getting it together. And physically I had let it go. We weren't talking as much and things like that, but I had not let it go in my mind. And of course, in a process of letting it go is going to be challenging. Challenging to where you do have to monitor your thoughts. You have to focus on what you're thinking about, so that if it is about that person, then you can switch that. You can tell yourself the truth. You can remind yourself of the reasons why you left the situation. So referencing the word, I'm going to be reading from Exodus chapter 14 verse 10 and 11. As Pharaoh approached, the people of Israel looked up and panicked when they saw the Egyptians overtaking them. They cried out to the Lord, and they said to Moses, "Why did you bring us out here to die in the wilderness? Weren't there enough graves for us in Egypt? What have you done to us? Why did you make us leave Egypt?" So for the Israelites, their first challenge came because the Egyptians did not just let them leave. I mean, initially they did, But once they left, and I guess the Egyptians had thought about it and was like, no, we need our slaves, let's go get them. They came after them, and that was their challenge. They physically had an enemy that they had to face right when they had left. So it's like, I'm just leaving the relationship. Why am I getting this challenge? Like, I know it's going to be hard, but why does it have to be something on top of it? So I don't know what that challenge for you may be. It may be that you desire the physical sex from the relationship. It may be that you feel less valuable and you want that person in your life to just reassure you that something's not wrong with you, that they aren't fighting because of something that you did. And that's a real challenge. For me, my challenge was I always wanted to let my ex know why I needed to separate from him. I always wanted to let him know that I loved him, that I cared about him, that I was still thinking about him. And I was hoping that that would get him to initiate something, fight for me more. And it just went into this cycle of him, for me telling him, me getting disappointed, and then me going into my period of not talking to him. And then it just repeated because, again, my challenge was always wanting to let him know that I cared about him. So whatever your challenge may be, identify what that is. Know that you're going to be challenged right when you let go of the relationship. There might be something that constantly keeps coming up that just triggered you wanting to talk to them or speak to them. So just be aware of that. Step number 2 for getting over ex is don't look back. Don't look back always expecting something to happen with your ex, or don't look back and re-engaging in sexual behaviors with them, but look forward, move forward to God, and allow him to do miracles in your life. Allow him to restore the things that were broken. Be hopeful about the future that he has for you. When it comes to the Israels, the first thing that we see that they really had to be challenged in this area was when they came to bitter waters. So the verses that I'm referencing are Exodus 15 verses 22 through 26. I'm not going to read all the verses, but definitely go read them for yourself. So in verse 22, then Moses led the people of Israel away from the Red Sea, and they moved out into the desert of Shur. They traveled in this desert for 3 days without finding any water. When they came to the oasis of Marah, the water was too bitter to drink. So they called the place Marah, which means bitter. So the people started complaining. They were like, Moses, where the water at? We can't drink this. Like, just in case you didn't know. And they were just complaining instead of really bowing down their lives and just admitting it to God, because they knew that God had told them. They knew that God had told them, leave Egypt. So whatever God is telling you to do, if he's telling you to leave the relationship, trust and know that he's going to get you through all the difficulties, get you through the hardship. He is going to do that, but only if you allow him. The Israelites were complaining. Instead, they should have been praising God. They should have been expecting God to change the situation. Like, expect God to change your heart towards this person. Expect him to really change you into the person that you were created to be. If the relationship was toxic, obviously there's a reason that you shouldn't have been in it. So you really just need to be like, okay, God, here I am. I mean, I'm hurting. I feel just so miserable right now with my pain, but here it is, Lord. Fix it. Fix it, Lord. Just give him everything that you have in that season. You don't want to look back and regret wasting that time. Just all I was doing was thinking about this person. Really, that's what I was doing. I was just wasting all this time, even though we weren't together. Like, I'm just wasting all this time. You don't want to do that. You want to allow God to do the miracles. And what's crazy is the Israelites had just seen a whole sea, like, I mean, dry land in a sea. I mean, they had just been able to walk across the Red Sea, getting away from the Egyptians. And from that miracle, like, what is water to him? He obviously can do, he got power over the water. Obviously he can fix these bitter waters. Why y'all complaining? Move forward. Let God do it for you. So step number 3 is that you want to change your perspective. You really do. You don't want to leave the relationship, move forward with God, but then you're going down memory lane. You're thinking about all the good times that you had with this person. You're thinking about the feelings that that person gave you. Oh, how different the relationship was. And I'm talking to myself when I'm saying this, like, this was me. I was just stuck on, like, this relationship was so different, blah, 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 blah. And I really wasn't highlighting why I left the relationship. Like, that should have been at the forefront of your mind. So step number 3, change your perspective. Do not let your mind go down memory lane. I don't care what song you hear that reminds you of that person. I don't care if you're riding down the street and this is where you guys used to always go. Like, at the forefront of your mind, you need to know you have stepped up. You have done something great for yourself because now you get to spend time with God. You have allowed God the space and opportunity to change you into the person that you were created to be. You're no longer having to compromise. You're no longer having to be this person that you were disappointed in. Like, you have essentially leveled up. So you need to level up in your mind and really be grateful for your situation. You don't need to focus on all the good that the relationship had. Like, no, I need you to highlight the bad so you can have a true perspective of it. Because when you go down memory lane, of course, it's just going to be all good. And I've seen this happen before where someone was in an abusive relationship and because they were going down memory lane with that person, they ended up back in a relationship that was abusive. Like, realistically, it's like, how does that happen? But you know how it happens, because if you're always constantly thinking about the good and forgetting the bad and what happened in a relationship, of course, when that person comes back into your life, all you're gonna have is, oh, this was so good, this was so great. And I'm not downplaying I'm not downplaying. Okay, if you learned all this stuff, if you brought a beautiful child into the world because of the relationship, I'm not downplaying that at all. But you have to do what you need to do to get over your ex. Therefore, you need to make sure that you're remembering why you left the relationship. And I'm not saying, especially if that person is in your life, the father of your child, that you need to talk bad about them, think bad about them, those kind of things. No, I'm saying you need to remember why you left the relationship versus thinking about all the good that the relationship, that you had in the relationship. So going back to the Israelites in Exodus chapter 16, verse 1 through 3, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to start at verse 2. There, too, the whole community of Israel complained about Moses and Aaron. If only the Lord had killed us back in Egypt, they moaned. There we sat around pots filled with meat and ate all the bread we wanted. But now you have brought us into this wilderness to starve us all to death. I truly, I can't say anything about the Israelites because I've thought this way, but when it's just so blatant in your face like that, you just ponder. You just think like, are you serious? Because y'all had bread to eat, let's go back to Egypt, the place where they was beating us, the place where I was a slave, like a literal slave, not like a somewhat slave. Like, I was a legit slave. Take me back there because we don't have any bread. Like, This is why you got to change your perspective. This is why you have to allow the Lord's word to soak into your mind, especially during this time. Memorize scripture, get into your word, spend time with God in the morning, in the night, and at night as well. Just let him just fill your heart with his word so you can be reminded of the truth. So step 4 is just living a life that's pleasing to God. Show your gratitude to God by living a life that's pleasing to him, which means really working on being whole, worshiping, praising him, really spending that time in prayer with him, letting him know how grateful you are for him showing you that you needed to leave that relationship. Like, there are so many people in this world that they're in relationships and they're so toxic, and we have a God that is graceful to us and gave us enough grace to show us, this isn't something that I want you to be in anymore. This isn't something that's going to help you grow. You need to leave. And you want to show him love and gratitude for that. He didn't just leave you in that situation. He didn't just leave you to live a stagnant life, but he called you to a prosperous place. So you want to show your gratitude to God. You want to show your gratitude by loving on other people, getting to a place where you are whole, and then can pour into another young lady who may have gone through a similar situation as you. That's how you want to be able to show your gratitude. And now we're on our last step, which is fight to get to the promised land. When you get a vision of what God has called you to go to, a land filled with milk and honey, you want to get there. You don't want to be like some of the Israelites who didn't keep that before their eyes, and they complained during their time in the wilderness, and they never made it to the promised land. They died in the wilderness. Like, no, you want to fight to get to the promised land. You want to fight in prayer. You want to physically go before the Lord on your knees, fighting through your situation. Do not give up because it is difficult. It is challenging. It is unfamiliar. It is uncomfortable. Keep looking towards the promised land. Get there. Do what you need to do. Like, if the Lord has called you into a relationship that is going to glorify him, he is going to get all the glory from this relationship. Do what you need to do to get there. Do not disappoint yourself by being stagnant, returning to a relationship that you know the Lord told you no on. Make sure that you do what you need to do to get to the promised land. So the last thing that I just want to highlight is that we have a true enemy. And some of the thoughts that popped in my mind were that I'm young. So, I'm only 26. I can go back to this relationship and, waste a couple more years just to have that temporary enjoyment for this season of my life. And of course, the enemy would love you to be distracted. What he cannot destroy, he distracts. Like, distract you with a relationship that you weren't supposed to be in the first place. Distract you with a career that you weren't supposed to be in, that's not fruitful to your life in any kind of way. The enemy would love to distract you. And you have to fight against those thoughts that come up where it just doesn't make sense. I mean, realistically, you could do it. I mean, hey, I could go back to a relationship, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, why would I choose to waste my time? Like, why would I do that? Like, it doesn't make sense. But when that flesh rises up and it wants to be pleased, of course, like, silliness is going to make sense to the flesh. Like, so you have to be aware that there is an enemy. That's why you need to physically fight in prayer against your enemy, because he wants you to go back to that relationship. He would love to see you just there, unproductive, and wasting your life, wasting your time, not being the person that you were created to be, not walking in your purpose, not touching the lives of others, not being there for the appointments that God has called you to be, like, he would love that. So the choice is up to you. You have the choice to stay in Egypt or to go to the promised land. You have the choice to walk around Egypt expecting freedom when that's not where the freedom is. Or you can go to the place where freedom actually is, where God is, where his spirit is, where his direction is. You can go there, but you gotta make the choice. No one else can make the choice for you. You have to make the choice for yourself in your mind, in your time, in your body. Like, I just want to talk to that person who thinks that it's okay to break up with someone but then still have sex with them. It's just not, you're not doing yourself any favors here. You're honestly just setting yourself up for failure, and it's 2019. We don't want to do that anymore. So I hope that this video has helped someone. I mean, like I said, I'm walking on this journey, and I just came out of a month of fasting, and it was really very helpful to me just to spend that time with God and just allow him to just show me different things, and for me to just praise and worship him and just spend that time with him. Like, I am so excited about 2019. I'm so excited about the freedom, and I hope that you can get excited too. Like, be excited about your freedom. Be excited about what the Lord gonna do. Like, hey, he got me. Like, he got you. I know it may hurt, but he got you. He gonna take care of you. You gonna be all right. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. So, I hope this video helps someone. Please leave below in the comments if you have any questions, if you want me to go into more details about the scriptures that I reference, or just anything in general. And I will catch you guys on the next one, and bye.